But this was the first education conference I'd ever been to. It was the first conference where the people there were educators, primarily university teachers. And this one guy, it was the very last session of the whole weekend. It was a 3-day conference, and this was the last session on the last day. And he came in, and we were in a conventional classroom, a kind of a curved classroom with him at the front. And he started out the session. It was a 90-minute session, and he asked everybody to start by thinking of a song that you've either heard recently or that's kind of in your head, and just think of the song, and think of maybe the first verse of the song, and just run it through your mind, the first verse. And then he'd do some talking, and he'd talk about what he was doing in his classroom, and he'd talk about a bit of theory and stuff. And then every 15 or 20 minutes, he'd say, okay, now come back to your song. Think about your song again. And just start kind of hum that song silently in your mind, but just begin humming it. And then he'd go on and he'd do some more teaching and didactic stuff. And then he did that again after another 20 minutes, and he said, now hum it a little bit out loud. You know, just make it a little bit, just hum your song, so everybody, they're a bit shy. And meanwhile, he was creating an environment in the room that was becoming safer and safer and safer, right? Because he was self-disclosing. He told a story about his son and a tragedy with his own family and stuff like that. He was doing a lot of self-disclosure. And over the course of those 90 minutes, and then finally at the very, very end, he said, okay, now I'd like each of you to sing a verse of your song. And he could never, ever have done that at the beginning, right? But I guess to put it in this context, he took people on a journey. He took people from where they were to a much safer place. And I'll never forget, I can't remember almost anything else. 15 years later, I can remember almost nothing else from that conference, but I will remember that experience as long as I live, because it was so poignant, and I'm sure each of us felt it. And people who would never have opened their mouth 90 minutes ago would stand up and they'd sing their song. I mean, some would sing it like they were opera singers, and it was amazing. So he illustrated this concept. So I think in some way that's a little bit like he was more of a guide. And it's interesting, he started his talk saying, using the old thing about, I'm not a sage on the stage, I don't believe, I'm more of a guide on the side.